whenever you go onto a new social media website, they always have like this tell us about yourself, and it's like about me, my interests, and it has like all of your favorite stuff. Favorite music, favorite books, favorite movies. And I find I tend to leave all of those blank because either I don't want people knowing what my favorites are because I've experienced telling people what my favorites are, or I just have too many to pick. And with books, it's generally that. It's really hard for me to like pick a single book or a single few books as my favorite. So what I've decided to do was I made a list of various genres and subgenres and then picked my favorite books out of that category. So the first genre that I have written down is adventure. And for my favorite adventure, well, series in this case, it's the Percy Jacksons. And for my favorite animal fiction, I chose the Newbery Honor Book because of Winn-Dixie. I combined autobiography, biography, and memoir into like one giant category, and the book I picked out of that category was a book I read in 8th grade, which was called First Woman Editor, Sarah J. Hale, and it was by Olive Burke. I also combined the next genres, which are chick lit and romance. I realized when I was looking through the Goodreads chick lit books, I don't read chick lit. The only things in the chick lit, like the first, because there's like 20 Goodreads books on a single page. I flipped through like 10 pages. The only things I had read that were classified as chick lit are Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, various works by Jane Austen, and the Twilight Saga. So I then combined romance, which I actually had a bit more of because they included things like The Hunger Games and basically any book that romance was ever involved. And for that series I picked Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So for the genre of classic, I picked The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Dumas? He's French, the S might not be pronounced. For the fantasy genre, I picked Resenting the Hero by Maura J. Moore, which you might have seen if you saw my book cover tag. For the fiction in general category, I picked Will Grayson, which you would also have seen if you saw my book cover tag. For the historical fiction genre, I actually broke it up into two parts, historical fiction YA and historical fiction adult. For historical fiction YA/children's, I picked Number the Stars by Lois Lowry, an adult genre that I picked, which was A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. Religion, the Bhagavad Gita, which is a religious work from India. Then there's the self-help category, which I picked How to Read Literature Like a Professor, which a lot of people would be like, what? How is that self-help? I was an English student who had a hard time writing essays. This book helped. The next genre is philosophy. I don't read a lot of philosophy. It's not really a genre I'm interested in. But I did manage to pick Candide by Voltaire. The first time, I've read this book twice. It's a really short book. I've read it twice. The first time I absolutely hated it. I read it in an appreciation of literature course. And the second time I read it was in the second half of my world literature course, and in the world literature course I actually ended up liking it a lot better because of just the way the teacher took the discussions about this book, and I saw the book in a completely different way. So for the genre of dystopian literature, I picked The Hunger Game by Suzanne Collins. Genre is science fiction. I've debated with myself and with other people whether or not this book is actually science fiction, but I decided to go with it nonetheless. Is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. The next genre is nonfiction, and let me tell you, I am lacking in nonfiction. I was looking over my Goodreads account, scrolling through all the books I have marked as read to find like nonfiction books, and I have about 260 books rated on Goodreads, and of those 260 books, about 10 are nonfiction. So I ended up picking from those 10, and I picked Histories, Mysteries, The Dead, the Doomed, and the Varied, which again, it's a really short book. It's about various mysteries all over the world. For the genre of graphic novel, I picked, and I know I'm going to take flack for this, Naruto. The next genre is crime fiction. I don't actually read a lot of crime fiction because I mostly watch it on television, but I picked The Value of Life by Andy Crowson. The genre of friendship, which I'm still not entirely convinced is a genre so much as it is a theme of a book, I picked Wonder by R.J. Palacio. So for the genre of paranormal, I picked Anna Dressed in Blood, which was the first book review I posted on my channel this year. I've read a lot of poetry, but most of it came out of anthologies like the Bedford Anthology, the Longman Anthology, the Norton Anthology, so I can't pick a single one. So I just decided to pick my favorite poem, which I happen to know is Ulysses by Alfred Lord Tennyson. In fact, I liked it so much that I think there's actually a video of me reading it on this channel. Reading it terribly, but reading it nonetheless. Politics. Again, a genre I'm not really interested in. However, I would say that my favorite piece about politics is The Prince by Niccolò Machiavelli. Short story. So, my favorite short story is a short story that I wrote, but because it's never been published, I've decided to pick a piece that's actually been published, and for that I picked The Necklace by some French guy whose name I'm about to severely mess up. And that is Guy de Maupassant. Maupassant. I don't think the N and the T are pronounced in French, but I took Spanish in high school, I didn't take French, lo siento. Is a genre of contention because I've seen it defined so many different ways. And that genre is multicultural. I've seen the genre defined as a book with a cast of characters from different cultures. I've seen it defined as a character being placed into a separate culture, and I've also seen it described as describing the relationship between the reader and the book, as the reader is of one culture and the book is of another culture. And for this genre, I've decided to pick the last one, the reader being of one culture and the book being of another culture. The Life of Pi by Jan Martel. For the genre of mystery, I had to spend like 25 minutes figuring out what this book was called because I read it so long ago I couldn't remember. I remember the author, but not the name of the book. The author is Joan Lowry Nixon, and the book was The Trap. For the genre of witches, wizards, and magic, I of course picked Harry Potter. The subgenre of vampire is the Drake Chronicle series, beginning with the first one, Hearts at Stake. And for the book I picked as the YA book overall, I picked The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak.